Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel for yet another very exciting episode of Project Management Keep It Simple. Today our topic will be creating baselines. This is one of the most primary concept if you want to pass the PMP exam. How you are going to create baselines. So without any further delay, let's just get started. So, our topic baselines. Remember, in project management, in the course of PMP, there are three baselines. Number one, there is a scope baseline, then there is a schedule baseline, and then there is a cost baseline. The whole idea of a baseline is to act as a reference point. That reference point will be used to measure our progress throughout the project. So we will create these baselines and we will get them approved, and once they are approved, a project manager cannot change the baseline. If the project manager wants to change the baseline, project manager needs to go for a standard change control process. Okay, but within the baseline, project manager can take the decision, no issues at all. So there is a flow chart that you need to know for creating these baselines, right? So let me just start with the first thing that happens over here, and I will start from the very beginning actually, that there is a needs assessment. Project start with the needs assessment. What is the need, why we are doing this. That needs assessment leads to the creation of business case. Business case is a document that defines what are the business values we are targeting, right? And it also have the return on investment, the payback period, and the net present value, whatever those benefit measurement system is. So the business case is usually prepared by the project sponsor. So the business case, as I said, it defines the business values. Then soon after the approval of the business case, the project charter comes in the picture. Project charter is the first project document that authorizes the project. The project charter defines the project objectives. So once the project charter gets approved, now we can start using organizational resources to plan the project in detail. So what happens soon after the project charter is signed? You need to now go and gather requirements. Gather requirement is a process where you use multiple techniques to gather all the stakeholder requirements, and not only the stakeholder, the solution requirements, functional requirements, non-functional requirements, quality requirements, and transition requirements. Every requirement is gathered by using interviews, facilitated workshop, and surveys, and a lot of things, observation. You gather all the requirements, and what you do when you gather the requirements, of course you document them. And here one document is created The name of that document is RTM. RTM here stands for Requirement Traceability Matrix. As the word sounds, traceability means it has the tracking ability, and matrix, it means it's a table. So we gather the requirement and we document that in a table, in a tabular form, and the idea of that making a tabular form is that it can be tracked. It can be tracked to the project objectives, that is the requirement fulfilling, and to the business value that the requirement is attached, the business need that the requirement is attached. Means every requirement must be linked with a business need. Now this RTM, this requirements, becomes the central point of all our rest of the project. Why I said the central point? Rather, I should say the pivot point. Why? Because from this requirement, all other areas of the project are actually defined. But we will stick to the baselines over here in this particular video. So once our requirements are finalized, now we can go further down and we can go and define the scope. Once we define the scope, this is a process where you create the project scope statement. A project scope statement is a document, is a statement which defines what is in the project, what is out of the project, what are the assumptions that we are talking about over here, and most importantly, what is the acceptance criteria. Yes guys, the scope statement tells us how the project, how the product will be accepted. It defines the boundaries of our work. That's why I said what is in and what is out. Coming back here, the acceptance criteria, yes, it should be written as a part of your project scope statement. Now once your scope statement is defined, you can now go and create WBS. WBS over here stands for the work breakdown structure. Work breakdown structure. It is the hierarchical decomposition of the work into smaller parts so that you can manage it easily. You divide the whole project into smaller parts, smaller chunks. Decomposition takes place over here, and just for organizational purposes, so that you can control the project in a better way. The work breakdown structure. Now at the same time, there is another document that is being created which is known as the dictionary of the WBS. The dictionary of the WBS is the details, the description of all the items in the WBS. That includes the technical specifications, technical references, code of account, reference number, resource that will be working on that project, scheduled milestones. Of course, all of these have not been planned till this point, so it's an iterative process. Means that once you go further in your planning, more details will be visible and you can plan it in a very better way, and you put all the things under one umbrella, which is the dictionary of the WBS. Now here lies a very important point. We will continue with our planning. The planning is not over yet, but here lies your first baseline, which means your scope statement, this document, your work breakdown structure, another document, and your dictionary of the WBS. Once these three documents combine together and get approved, the approval of these three documents will become our scope baseline. So it means if you want to add anything in the scope baseline, any of these three documents, or all of these three documents by the way, will get updated, right? So that approval is not happening at this point, of course. That approval is not happening at this point. Why it is not happening? Because we are going with the plan. Once we complete all, we will go together and get approval on all the three baselines, right? Because everything is linked together. Now, the WBS over here has three levels: control account, planning package, and the work package. Control account is where you control your cost, schedules, earned value management. A project can have multiple control accounts such as design, construction, execution, testing, commission. Planning package is how you organize it. You may have one planning package, you may not have any planning package, or you may have like tons of planning packages, maybe like 9, 8, whatever. It depends upon the magnitude of your project. The work package, on the other hand, the last one, is the lowest level of the WBS that defines the deliverables. From here, from the lowest level of the WBS, we decompose the lowest level and we define activities. Define activities is a process where you go and have all the list of activities. What are activities? Activities are the tasks that are performed by the team members. At the same time, the list of activities is not only the thing that is prepared, list of milestones is also prepared. Right? You have some milestones at the start of the project when project charter is being developed, but at the same time, at this point especially, you describe more or identify more milestones that might help you to control your project for senior reporting, right? So you can do that. We have define activities. We have now the list of activities. Now this list of activities is going in 3 dimensions. The list of activities is going over here, and it is going over here and going over here. On this side, we sequence them. We estimate duration and we develop schedule. Right? Develop schedule is a process where project timeline is developed, project schedule is developed, and this project schedule will get approved and will be known as your schedule baseline. The timeline of your project after the approval is known as the schedule baseline. But that will not be developed all at once just the way I said it. You just sequence, estimate duration, and voila, you have your schedule ready, developed. No, no, no. Because it is highly linked with your estimate resources process, and it is highly linked with your estimate cost process. The duration estimation is actually linked between these three processes, and all of these three processes are linked together, because if you increase your resources, your cost will increase but your duration will decrease. So these three processes are happening at the same time, where you create a very good version of your project schedule that aligns with your project goals. You develop the project cost that aligns with your project objectives, right? So this estimation of resources is taking place. You need to identify resources. Manpower, material, machinery. Now you have these three M's, right? You have the manpower, material, machinery. So why don't you just create an RBS? RBS is a resource breakdown structure that visualize, right, all your resources, and you categorize the resources into multiple categories. Resource breakdown structure that helps us to visualize, right? And it also helps us to identify the missing resource, right? Here we also use resource calendar so that we know when a particular resource is available and we schedule that activity accordingly. Now all of these are contributing towards the cost, and this cost estimate that we have over here is done at an activity level. So what we do at this point, we sum up the cost and we get the project estimate. This project estimate is the cost of the manpower, material, machinery that you need to complete the scope of work. That's the project estimate. But what about if anything goes wrong? So on top of the project estimate, we add contingency reserves. Contingency reserves is the cost of known uncertainties, known risk. Keep that in mind. It is identified, those uncertainties are identified by the project manager, and the project manager will keep some contingency aside if any of those uncertainties become real. So we keep that money aside. Usually, always, the contingency reserves are coming from the risk management processes that we will be explaining in some other video maybe. So once you have your contingency reserves added to your project estimate, you will get the budget at completion. Budget at completion, abbreviated as the BAC. This budget at completion is basically your cost baseline, right? approved version of your budget at completion is your cost baseline. Now a project manager can take the decision within the baseline because it is in control of project manager, because you gather the requirement, you define the scope, you define the activities, you define the risk along with contingencies. So everything is defined by you and you can play along within these things. If you are saving money from one part, you can use the same money in another part if you are not crossing the baseline. But what if you cross the baseline? Where the money will come from? Right? So there has to be, at this point, the management actually will add management reserves. Management reserves are controlled by the management. You are not authorized to use them, right? If anything goes wrong, which was not in your plan, remember your plan. Your plan is your scope, your schedule, your risks. Your risks are also your plan. If anything happens within your plan, you have contingencies. But if anything happens that is not your plan, the management should keep some budget aside for any unknowns, they call it, unknowns, issues. For that they have the management reserves. If you want to use the management reserves, you need to follow a proper change request procedure. Then the management will release the funds from the management reserves and your cost baseline will get updated. Now, once the management will add the management reserves on top of your BAC, the budget at completion, here you will get the project budget. Now, if you zoom out here and you see the whole table in front of you, right? I think now it is a little, there you go, the whole table is in front of you. And let me highlight a few things over here. Where are your baseline? This is your scope baseline, approved version of the scope statement, WBS, and the dictionary of WBS. Where is your schedule baseline? This one, approved version of your project schedule, is your schedule baseline. And where is your cost baseline? This one, which means approved version of your project budget at completion, that is your cost baseline, right? This flow chart should always keep in your mind. No need to, while you are going for the exam, you are just, memorizing it in a way that you will draw it on a paper that will be given to you for the exam. No, don't need to do this. But this idea should always be there. And this is how you see it. For example, I want to create the WBS. What do I need? I need to have a scope statement. I want to define the activities. I need to have a WBS for that. If WBS is not there, I need to have a scope statement, right? I need to sequence my work. I need to define the activities first so that I sequence them, right? I need to, for example, create the WBS again. Scope statement we require. If that is not there, we require an RTM. If that is not there, we might require project charter. The whole idea is it gives you a little time frame where everything is taking place. Now you might be thinking, okay, very straightforward, but where is quality? Where is procurement? Where is risk? So quality, if I zoom in, is very much linked with the requirements. So quality will be planned as soon as you have your requirements, because it will add up to the scope. Quality is embedded in the scope as per the latest edition of the book. So you have the quality as soon as you finalize your requirements, because the definition of quality is conformance to requirement. How close you are to the requirement, that is quality. So that quality, when you plan it, it will help you to define the scope that eventually lead you towards the acceptance criteria. So quality is lying over here. Now where is risk? I already told you where the risk is. When you are having your contingencies, risk management needs to be done, right? So your risk is over here. Risk management, you identify the risk, analyze the risk, and plan the risk responses. The cost of your risk responses is your contingency reserves. Now where is procurement? This one over here, as you see, your RBS, your resource breakdown structure, is used to identify the missing resource, because you have manpower, material, machinery. Not all the resources are available within the company. So you need to do procurement for that. You need to purchase things from outside. So here lies the procurement that will eventually add up to your estimate cost. So let me just zoom out again and use a different highlighter to define other three areas that are not described in this flowchart. You may find those things in another video. And let me now zoom out to see the whole picture again here in one frame. So there you go. This is how you understand the planning part of project management, which is the creation of three most important baselines when you are studying for the PMP exam. I'm sure it is 100% clear. I will definitely see you in the next video. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. It will keep me motivated to make more videos as well. And like it, comment it. I will be happy to reply you. See you in the next video. Have a good day.